Tell us a little bit about your gallery.
Okay. I'm Galerie Richard, the owner of Galerie Richard. I opened the gallery in Paris first in 1989, and then I opened a second gallery in New York in 2011 in Chelsea, and then I moved to Lower East Side.
Oh, wonderful.
And this is my first participation in Seattle Art Fair.
Well,
And I decided to exhibit artists who have never been exhibited in Seattle, so that it's a surprise and a discovery for everybody.
lovely, lovely. So, where would you like to start? Is there anybody that you'd like to talk about a little bit?
I don't. I would take the alphabetical order because I don't want to.
Oh, perfect, perfect. So, where would that be?
To make a difference between one artist or the other. So by alphabetical order, Scott Anderson is the first one.
Nice.
I exhibited him in 2004, artist, probably, in Paris. At that time he was doing figurative painting inspired by video games, so it was already very digital. It was very digital, and for this reason, he was part of this book and this exhibition, Post-Digital Painting, who has been influential for me. And you have a listing of very good artists in this exhibition. Scott Anderson is the first on the listing. But then he moved from Chicago to New Mexico, and he really changed his style, his way of painting. Now it's becoming very much two-dimensional again, a little bit like Matisse. His range of colors, he got a very unique range of colors that he did not get before. And his work is much more difficult to visualize. In fact, there are many ways to see every design. I think he gets one idea, then he paints on it to make another idea, and then he paints again and again, and so the paintings change a lot of times, and you have more and more information in it.
Right.
And finally, you don't really know what to see. So it's a process, a very interesting process for the collector, because first you get a question mark. And for me, it's a question mark. These two paintings are so new that I just discover them now, completely new.
Almost like the audience here in Seattle.
Exactly. And it will take a lot of time for everybody to really see everything you can see in each painting. I think it has been very inspired by European art painters, but also by Mexican painters.
I see a little Philip Guston in there as well.
Yes, exactly. You are correct, perfectly correct.
You were saying that he was recently invited or accepted to...
Well,
Or can you not say that?
I proposed a piece of art of him to the Barbara Museum of Art.
In Santa Barbara?
Santa Barbara. And there was a commission, of course, and I got the definitive reply on August 1st, so it's really something new. And finally they accepted to include his work in their permanent collection.
Oh, very good.
For me, it's a very good step, because it is the first time that I sell a piece of art to an American museum.
Should we move along to what's the next alphabetical artist?
Well, the problem is Li Wei. People think Li Wei is the last name, but in fact it's Li because it's Chinese. So
here.
But now it's Alex Brown anyway. So this is Alex Brown. And I'm very glad to exhibit him because I'm very involved into digital painting. It is part of my program from the beginning of the gallery. I've always realized that the digital revolution was going to change our way of visualizing every piece of art, everything, and that the artists who are painters were going to, like a sponge, to absorb the digital revolution in painting. I could have been interested in going to other new digital medium, but my preference was to continue the history of painting because that's my background, and to see how these young art painters would absorb and reflect the digital revolution in painting.
Right.
This is more interesting for me.
Yes.
I don't go so much into video art for this reason. I'm more into, I want to continue the history of painting.
Nice.
And this artist, he had a Macintosh probably when he was a student, and then he moved to Mac. So, of course, the first artists to be influenced by the digital revolution were American artists, and most of them are in this book. I promote the book.
Is that available on Amazon.com?
Probably. So Alex Brown, I think, is really the major American artist, painter involved with the digital revolution visually. He could really see that the pixel, he played the pixel in so many ways that every painting is different every time. He doesn't repeat himself. He could make, so here for example, you have this, at a distance you don't, if you don't have the distance you don't see so much the figuration, but with your cell phone, the cell phone helps you to see the figuration in it.
Right.
So with your cell phone you can see the face.
So
it's an American Indian, and you can see that this pattern of the pixel in fact is in this painting is a triangle, and this kind of pattern you see you can see a lot of them into craftsmanship. When I went to Santa Fe, I could see a lot of carpets, I could see tapestries, pottery, and so on with this motif.
With that pattern, with that.
And
that
this
motif?
pattern is selected, I think, the pattern because of the subject. But he was not going to do 20 paintings of American portraits. He did one. For each idea, he makes one painting.
Oh, okay.
Every time it's a new process, a new discovery, a new experience for the viewer.
So for him, it's all about the process of making it, not necessarily repeating a theme.
Yes. At the end, it's an oil painting on canvas. It's a brush painting. It's a very long process, and I don't think he has any assistants, so he's a very classical painter in this aspect. And so every painting has to be meaningful. Every painting is meaningful, and every painting is valuable, whatever the size can be from him.
And what people aren't going to be able to see in this video is that when a person walks in and they look at these paintings, they're actually abstract.
Yes.
And the computer, or the phone, excuse me, is going to translate it the way a digital media does, where the digital media actually shows the Native American in the painting. When we walk in, we see little pyramids, little triangles that all add up. It's lovely. Should we move on to this?
So here you have flowers. You don't see and this is a grid. It's a grid. It's squares, but these squares are in diagonals. So it doesn't exist as a pixel. Pixels are only horizontal and vertical lines. So this is a grid that you don't see on your computer. And what happens in this painting is that the grid decides for the color shapes. When he made another painting that I have in the gallery about flowers also, but in this case it's the color we decide for the grid. Here it's just the opposite. So even if he used 2 times the same kind of subject, the way to make it is completely the opposite way, conceptually. So he's a very, very smart artist.
It's a very theoretical, very conceptual work.
Yes, yeah. I can say that only by watching his art. I never met this artist for real.
Oh, okay.
But I know from the painting.
Yes.
So
speaking of conceptual artists, so we move on to Lee.
A person who takes risk in another way, he takes risks physically. Because this person, this artist is here, also here, and is really floating in the air of Paris. It's called Buddha in Paris.
That's amazing.
So thousands and thousands of people in Paris could see him. The reality is that he was supported here. The Y's have been deleted, but he was really in the air, very high, probably with a helicopter.
Well, his work seems to be very much about tricking the eye, or making you believe something or see something that was not exactly how it was in real life.
I think the real philosophy of his art as a statement is to embrace freedom, the personal freedom as a Chinese person. And you know, every psychanalyst will tell you if you dream of flying, it's a very positive dream in your. It's always very positive, and that most of part of the subject is to see him flying in the air freely, and it's a personal liberation for himself and a proposal for everybody to feel free. I think so. I think that's the major thematics of his works. Here it's a more personal story. I think he was really in love with this lady. He was younger. That's his first work. A series of 10 works with this lady. The title is Dream Like Love, 2003. He had no money. And indeed, this one, there is no digital manipulation at all.
Right. Do you want to tell them how it's done, or do you want?
I can explain you a little bit. I'm sure you want to know. The artist explains by itself in the work. I show you two pieces. For example, here, I have this piece also in the gallery in New York. You see the face in the landscape. It's about the same. It's impossible to get this face alone. It's impossible here. But then you get this image. And so what you see here is his head, but he made a hole and you have the mirror here. It's a trick used by magicians. So it's a game with different mirrors, maybe one, maybe two, maybe more.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly. I'm not the artist. I don't pretend to be. But the effect is amazing. There is no digital manipulation.
That is amazing. Yes.
And it's cute. It's nice. The ladies have power. The ladies have power. I can tell you. I can show you the work. The first work that I purchased from him. Because every time I meet an artist, usually I purchase one piece of art because it's an important moment in my private life. And I decided to purchase this one. Wait a second, I'm sorry. This book is huge. Where is it? Voila, I purchased this one. Look at that. He has a good sense of humor.
Yes, very much.
But
And
look at how powerful is this lady. I don't want you anymore. I hope I throw you out. That's the mistake.
Was that the end of their relationship?
I think so. look at this one. So you see three different artists, different directions. Maybe my main direction has been the relationship between painting and digital revolution. My major medium for me is still painting. This artist, in fact, studied painting, even if he changed for a new medium, photography. But all the people that I exhibit were officially photographers. In fact, they are mostly involved into digital photography, and they can change every pixel, and so they think really like a painter.
Right, and you were saying that he likes the fact that they're photographs because he feels like he can manipulate them in the way that a painter does.
Yes, but also he wants people to feel that they could fly by themselves and liberate themselves. It's a mental process. He wants, I think, everybody to feel free in their mind, because if you have to feel free in your mind by yourself before getting free for real.
Like suspension of reality.
That's a good way to say it.
Well, thank you, sir. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Nice meeting you.